Academic Bowl. This morning we're going to have an academic competition between two teams, one from Millville High School, one from Vineland High School, and they're going to face off today for academic superiority in Cumberland County. I'm going to my name is Louis Russo. I'm the moderator for this morning's event. We have two volunteers from each high school that are serving as judges, Mr. Dan Kuzma from Vineland, Mr. Dan Lally from Millville. The Vineland team is coached by Mrs. Vanessa Rasmussen and the Millville team by Mr. Bill Brandon. We're going to have the teams introduce themselves in just a second, but first, as the teams take the stage for the first half, I'm going to read the rules. Now each team will consist of 4 seniors and a senior alternate, and 4 juniors and a junior alternate. Careful up the steps. 2 seniors and 2 juniors from Vineland High School will compete against 2 seniors and 2 juniors from Millville High School during the first 30-minute half. 2 different seniors and 2 different juniors from Vineland High School will compete against 2 different seniors and 2 different juniors from Millville during the second 30-minute half. Each team will have a junior and a senior alternate in case the starter is not able to compete. All right, the senior alternate will take the place of an absent senior, and the junior alternate will take the place of the missing junior. Now, the team with the highest score at the end of the second half will win the competition. If both teams are tied at the end of the second half, the match will end in a tie. Now, in the unlikely event that all of the 60 questions in our quiz book have been used before the 60-minute time has elapsed, the match will end and the score at that point will be final. Each question is worth 1 point. Any challenges to questions asked during the first half have to be submitted to the judges in writing by the captain at the end of the first half. Any challenges to questions in the second half must also be submitted to our judges at the end of the second half by the captain. Challenges will not be accepted or addressed during the question and answers. And of course, the judges' decisions are final. Now I will read each question twice. Both teams will have approximately, let me stress that, 30 seconds to deliberate on most general questions, and 60 seconds, approximately, for the questions that involve mathematical or scientific computations. When time is called, each captain will provide the team's written response to the questions to the moderators. And for math and complex science questions that involve computation, I have printed copies that a representative from each team can come get at your request. So if you would like print copies of math or computation questions, you'll have to send a representative over to grab them. All right. The moderator, myself, I will read the questions. The students will hold up their answers. They're writing their answers, and they'll be showing those answers to the judges, and both teams will be answering concurrently at the same time. So each question is addressed to both teams, and then both teams, as soon as you're ready, you will hold up your answers that you're writing on paper, and they have to, of course, be viewed by our judges. Okay? No calculators are permitted. The teams are allowed pen and paper only, and questions themselves come from both professional sources and from questions submitted by the staff members from both schools. And then they were compiled by Mr. Charles Brozina, who is the retired librarian from Millville High School. We thank Mr. Brozina for putting this together for us each year. Okay, at this point, we're going to introduce the teams. May I ask one of the representatives from Millville High School, please, to come on over, grab that microphone, and introduce yourselves.
Chelsea Broski,
Taylor Whitaker,
Cheyenne Snyder, Ava Vasquez,
is John Zhitnikov. I will be the captain representing Vineland High School.
I'm Hannah Rasmussen.
Christian Alvarado.
I'm Gabriella Kumba. Olivia Matthias.
Just put that there. Thank you, John. Good luck to both teams. And we will now proceed. All right, we will begin our first 30-minute half. I have it at 10:12 a.m. So we'll do a first 30-minute half. All right, teams, are we ready? All right, here is our first question. Spelling. Please spell for us chrysanthemum. It is defined as any various composite plants from the genus Chrysanthemum, including weeds, ornamentals grown for brightly colored, often double flower heads, and others important as sources of medicinals and insecticides. Each of the homecoming queen candidates wore a white chrysanthemum. So once again, please spell for us chrysanthemum. When you are done, you're going to hold up your answer so that Mr. Lala and Mr. Kuzma can see.
Yeah, let me grab that. Yeah, well, I need the extra.
All right, so to clarify, Vineland had it correct, Millville did not. All right, second question. Local interest. Portions of 6 state highways serve our own Cumberland County. By the route number, please name any of these 6 state highways. 6 state highways serve our own Cumberland County. By the route number, please. Sorry. 3, yes. By the route number, please name any 3. My apologies if I didn't stress that. 3 of these 6 state highways. So name 3 of 6 that run through our county. Okay, teams, I think we're getting to that point. Do we have answers? Would you please show them?
Neither. Sorry.
All right, unfortunately, neither were correct. I saw some good numbers there, but some that were just out of our area. All right, we're going to move on to geography. What is the northernmost state capital in the contiguous United States? What is the northernmost state capital in the contiguous United States? About 10 seconds, teams. All right, and your answers are, hold them up, please, for our judges. Unfortunately, they were both incorrect. The correct answer was Olympia, Washington. All right, we're going to math. So, if each team would like a printed copy of this question, send one representative forward. Would you folks like, Vineland, would you like a printed copy of one of them? I'll meet you halfway. mathematics. If P equals 5A and Q equals 3B minus 2A, then what is the value of P minus Q? If P equals 5A and Q equals 3B minus 2A, then what is the value of P minus Q? About 1 minute. About 15 seconds, teams. If you have answers, you may hold them up. Both were correct? All right, excellent. Correct answers that both teams had 7A minus 3B. All right, we're warming up. Let's go to literature. An English mathematics lecturer and an author of mathematics books. He is also familiar to us as the author of some children's books. In one of his children's books, a character says, "Sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Please name either the author or the book. So I'll read it again. An English mathematics lecturer and an author of mathematics books. He's also familiar to us as an author of some children's books. In one of his children's books, a character says, "Sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." You're going to name either the author or the book. About 10 seconds. If you have your answers, you may display. About 5 seconds left. Were there any correct? No. All right, unfortunately, they were incorrect. I bet you folks out in the audience knew Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland, right? All right, let's go to grammar now. This type of clause often begins with such words as although, since, if, when, and because. Please name this type of clause. This type of clause often begins with such words as although, since, if, when, and because. So please name this type of clause. About 10 seconds, teams. All right, and your answers are? Correct answer is the dependent clause. Millville was correct. All right, excellent. Moving on to current events. It was a large and destructive Category 4 Atlantic hurricane, and this past September became the deadliest to strike the state of Florida since 1935's Labor Day hurricane. It caused widespread damage across western Cuba and the southeast United States, especially the states of Florida and South Carolina. It was the 9th named storm, the 4th hurricane, and the 2nd major hurricane of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. Please name the hurricane. All right, the was the large destructive Category 4 Atlantic hurricane from this past September, the deadliest to strike Florida since 1935, causing widespread damage. The ninth named storm, the fourth hurricane, and the second major hurricane of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. Name our hurricane. You can hold it up if you have it, sure. Don't have to wait.
Both right.
Excellent. Both teams knew Hurricane Ian. All right. Moving into United States history. The 1st United States Volunteer Cavalry was one of 3 regiments raised in 1898 for the Spanish-American War, and the only one to see combat. Its commander was Colonel Leonard Wood, and second in command was the former Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Theodore Roosevelt. It was composed of a mix of troops ranging from Ivy League athletes to Glee Club singers to Texas Rangers and Native Americans. They made headlines for their role in the Battle of San Juan Hill, which became the stuff of legend thanks to Roosevelt's writing ability and reenactments filmed long after. Please give us the nickname by which this unit is better known. 1st Volunteer Cavalry, 1898, Spanish-American War, the only one to see combat. Colonel Leonard Wood, and second in command, Theodore Roosevelt. A mix of troops making headlines in the Battle of San Juan Hill. What is this unit's better known name? About 10 seconds, teams. Any answers?
No points.
Okay, I'm sorry, they were incorrect. The correct answer is the Rough Riders. Theodore Roosevelt and the Rough Riders. All right, next is another, another math question. All right, so teams, you might want to come over and grab a correct copy. Okay, if P, oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. If 60% of a given number is 9, then what is 25% of the given number? If 60% of a given number is 9, then what is 25% of that given number? About 15 seconds, teams. All righty, folks, do you have an answer? If you do, please hold it up. All right, the correct answer is 3.75. Very good. Moving to world history. The Peloponnesian War was fought between Athens and which other Greek city-state? The Peloponnesian War was fought between Athens and which other ancient Greek state? seconds, team. Okay, folks, if you have answers, please hold them up. The correct answer is Sparta. Both teams correct. Very good. Biology. Biology. Most enzymes in the body work best close to pH 7, but a few human enzymes work best at a very low pH, about 2. Where in the body are these low pH enzymes located? I'll read it again. Most enzymes in the body work best close to pH 7, but a few human enzymes work best at a very low pH, about 2. Where in the body are these low pH enzymes located? All right, folks, now 10 seconds. Take those 10 seconds. All right, if we have answers, let's hold them up. The correct answer is the stomach. Very good. I'm sure we've all experienced those pains, right? All right, number 12 is U.S. history. President Abraham Lincoln issued it on January 1st of 1863. As the nation approached its 3rd year of bloody civil war, it declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free. Despite this expansive wording, it was very limited in many ways. It only applied to states that had seceded from the United States, leaving slavery untouched in the loyal border states. It also expressly exempted parts of the Confederacy that had already come under Northern control. What is this document? President Lincoln issued it on the 1st of January, 1863. The 3rd year of the Civil War, it declared all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free. It only applied to the states that had seceded from the Union, left slavery untouched in the loyal border states, and expressly exempted parts of the Confederacy that had already come under Northern control. What is it? You have plenty of time, but if you have answers, you can hold them up. Correct answer, of course, the Emancipation Proclamation. I think you both had it, right? Excellent. All right. Number 13, biology. What color of light is least effective in driving photosynthesis? What color of light is least effective in driving photosynthesis? About 10 seconds. Teams, if you have answers, let's put them up. Correct answer is green. Okay, next is chemistry, and I do have printed copies. An isotope has a half-life of 30 minutes. Given an original sample of 100 grams of the isotope, how much will be left after an hour? An isotope has a half-life of 30 minutes. Given an original sample of 100 grams of the isotope, how much will be left after an hour? Approximately 10 seconds, teams, 10 seconds. Right, and your answers are? Correct answer is 25 grams. Very good. We're going to move to vocabulary. This word is a noun, naming something or someone that is not in its correct historical or chronological time, especially a thing or person that belongs to an earlier time, such as using a longbow in modern warfare. It may also be an error in chronology in which a person, object, or event is assigned a date or a period other than the correct one, such as assigning Michelangelo to the 14th century. Please name this vocabulary word. A noun naming something or someone that is not in its correct historical or chronological time, especially a thing or person that belongs to an earlier time, such as using a longbow in modern warfare. It can also be an error in chronology in which a person, object, or event is assigned a date or period other than the correct one. Please name this vocabulary word. About 10 seconds. If you have answers, team, you want to hold them up. And the correct answer is anachronism. All right. Moving back to math. We have printed copies. What is the number that is 1/10 of 1/2 of 1/10 of 1/2 of 3,600? What is the number that is 1/10 of 1/2 of 1/10 of 1/2 of 3,600? About 10 seconds, teams. All right, and your answers are, the correct answer is 9. Very good. All right, moving back to world history. He was born on October 2nd, 1869 in Porbandar, India, and died January 30th, 1948 in Delhi. He was a lawyer, a politician, a social activist, a writer who became the leader of the nationalist movement against British rule in India. As such, he came to be considered the father of the nation. He is internationally esteemed for his doctrine of nonviolent protest to achieve political and social progress. Please name him. Born October 2nd, 1869, Porbandar, India. Dying January 30th, 1948 in Delhi, a lawyer, politician, social activist, a writer, became the leader of the nationalist movement against British rule of India. He's considered the father of his country, internationally esteemed for his doctrine of nonviolent protest. Please name him. You have plenty of time, but if you have an answer, I would encourage you to put it up because you could get to more questions that way. The correct answer, of course, is Gandhi. All right, Mahatma Gandhi or Gandhi. All right, moving into government.
Correct time is about 7 minutes left. About 7 minutes left.
7 minutes left. Okay. The cabinet's role is to advise the president on any subject he may require relating to the duties of each member's respective office. There are currently 15 cabinet departments. Based on their date of formation, please name the oldest and the newest. Right, the cabinet's role is to advise the president on any subject he may require relating to the duties of each member's office. There are currently 15 cabinet departments. Based on date of formation, please name the oldest and the newest. Teams, do you have an answer? All right, the correct answers are Department of State is the oldest and the Department of Homeland Security is the newest. Okay, moving into technology or physics. While driving down the road, a firefly strikes the windshield of a bus and makes quite an obvious mess in front of the face of the driver. This is a clear case of Newton's third law of motion. The firefly hit the bus, and the bus hits the firefly. If the force on the firefly, excuse me, let me repeat that, is the force on the firefly greater or the force on the bus greater, or are they the same? While driving down the road, a firefly strikes the windshield of the bus and makes a mess. This is a clear case of Newton's third law of motion. The firefly hit the bus and the bus hits the firefly. Is the force on the firefly greater or the force on the bus greater, or are they the same? About 10 seconds, teams. All right, time is up. Please show your answers. The correct answer is they are the same. That question was a mess, wasn't it? I'll keep my date. Next is chemistry. With atomic numbers of 1 and 2 respectively, which two elements, in order, are at the top of the periodic table of the elements? With atomic numbers of 1 and 2 respectively, which two elements, in order, are at the top of the periodic table of the elements? About 10 seconds, teams. And please show your answers if you have them. Correct answers are hydrogen 1 and helium 2. literature. He was a Spanish playwright, poet, and novelist. He lived in the 16th century and died in the 17th. He's most famous for kicking off what is now considered classic European literature. Prior to his work, literature was confined largely to poems and plays. He's credited with writing the first ever modern European novel. His Don Quixote is highly regarded as one of the greatest works of fiction ever written. He also had a major influence on the Spanish language. Please name him. Name this Spanish playwright, poet, and novelist of the 16th century, most famous for kicking off classic European literature, credited with writing the first ever modern European novel, Don Quixote. Please name him. About 10 seconds, teams. All right, that's fine. Please show us your answers if you have them. Correct answer is Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. All right, 50 seconds remain. The last question. Moving back to U.S. history. In the United States, this is a derogatory term for an individual from the North who relocated to the South during the Reconstruction period between 1865 and 1877, following the Civil War. This term was applied to Northern politicians and financial adventurers who Southerners accused of coming to the South to use the newly enfranchised freedmen as a means of obtaining office or profit, literally describing an unwelcome stranger with no more property than could be carried in a satchel. The epithet later came to refer to anyone perceived as an interloper who came to a region to exploit it against the wishes of its inhabitants. Please give us this term. A derogatory term from the Reconstruction period following the Civil War, applied to Northern politicians and financial adventurers that the Southerners accused of coming to use newly enfranchised freedmen as a means of obtaining office or profit, an unwelcome stranger with no more property than you could carry in a satchel. It later referred to anyone perceived as an interloper coming to a region to exploit it. Name this term. I can't tell if that means you have answers already. Is that what's likely? There's a few minutes, a few seconds left, about 15. If you have answers, you may put them up. The correct answer is carpetbagger. All right, so that will complete the first half with the score Vineland 9. We will take a short break to change the teams and allow you to take a rest, and we'll be back in a few minutes for the second 30-minute half. Clarification, just for the teams, for the audience, for the coaches. I think what we want to try to do is, if we want to maximize the time and the number of questions that we can get in. So, teams, if you have an answer, you're ready, give us a signal, okay? So we're not waiting down the clock of 30 seconds or a minute. If you both have answers, we would like to have you show your answers, and then we can get into more questions, okay? So is that clear? When you have an answer, just give us a thumbs up, all right? And then myself or the judges will know, and if you both have thumbs up, we'll just show your answers and we'll get more questions out to you. All right? I want to make one correction. I mispronounced or transposed the score that I announced at the end of the first half. Vineland has 12. Vineland is in red. Millville in blue has 9. I believe I transposed them earlier. Okay? So, students from Millville High School, would you please introduce yourselves?
My name is Tad Rempel. My name's Anthony Young.
My name is Malika Tamagyo. My name is Hannah Lynn.
I'm Austin Nordberg.
I'm Nazmir Dindu.
Jennifer Martinez.
I'm Kayla Thanks.
Okay, good.
That way we can hear you all think. All righty, teams, are you ready? Are you ready? All right, let's go. So our first question of the second half, I'm just going to make note here. It looks like to me we're beginning at 11:03. All right, biology. It can be defined as the biological production of organic compounds from C1 compounds and nutrients using the energy generated by the oxidation of inorganic, for example, hydrogen gas, hydrogen sulfide, or ammonia, or C1 organic, for example, methane or methanol molecules. This occurs in bacteria and other organisms and involves the use of energy released by inorganic chemical reactions, typically in the absence of sunlight, to produce food. Please name this term. I will read it again. It can be defined as the biological production of organic compounds from C1 compounds and nutrients using the energy generated by the oxidation of inorganic or C1 organic molecules. This occurs in bacteria and other organisms and involves the use of energy released by inorganic chemical reactions, typically in the absence of sunlight, to produce food. Name this term. About 10 seconds. Okay, teams, please put your answers up. The correct answer is chemosynthesis. Moving over to health. On a doctor's order for a blood test, it said NPO after midnight. What does NPO mean? On a doctor's order for a blood test, it said NPO after midnight. What does NPO mean? About 10 seconds, teams. Okay, folks, your answers are, please hold them up if you have one. The correct answers could be nothing by mouth, nil per os, Latin, or a doctor's shorthand for a period of time that you cannot even drink. All right, moving into math. We have a printed question. We'll send a representative over. All right, the late Mrs. Brown left half of her money to her granddaughter and half that amount to her grandson. She left a sixth to her brother and the remainder, $1,000, to the dog's home. Now, how much money did she leave altogether? I'll repeat. The late Mrs. Brown left half her money to to her granddaughter and half that amount to her grandson. She left a sixth to her brother and the remainder, $1,000, to the dogs. How much money did she leave altogether? About 15 seconds, teams. All right, and your answers are, the correct answer is $12,000. Very good. This is also printed. We're going to do technology or physics. Okay, what braking force is supplied to a 3,000 kilogram car traveling with a velocity of 35 meters a second that is stopped in 12 seconds? What braking force is supplied to a 3,000 kilogram car traveling with a velocity of 35 meters per second that is stopped in 12 seconds? About 15 seconds, teams. Okay, that's a minute. If we have answers, let's raise our placards. The correct answer is 8,750 newtons. Moving to math again. The area of one square face of a cube is equal to 64 square centimeters. Find the volume of the cube. The area of one square face of a cube is equal to 64 square centimeters. Find the volume of the cube. Okay, about 15 seconds. teams are ready. I believe you both signal. Please raise your answers. Both are correct. 512 Okay, now we're moving to chemistry. An element has an atomic number of 76. The number of protons and electrons in a neutral atom of the element are. An element has an atomic number of 76. The number of protons and electrons in a neutral atom of the element are. About 10 seconds, team. Okay, both teams have signaled, so please show us your answers. The correct answers are 76 protons and 76 electrons. All right, good job. Moving into current events. At least 149 people were killed and another 150 injured after they were crushed in a large Halloween crowd on Saturday night, October 29, 2022. The city's fire department said in one of the deadliest peacetime accidents in recent history. The crowd surge happened during one of the most ruckus celebrations of the year in the nation's capital, where as many as 100,000 people, news media said, had clogged the narrow streets of its nightlife district for Halloween festivities. Please name the city and country where this tragedy occurred. 149 people killed, 150 injured as they were crushed in a large Halloween crowd October 29, 2022. The nation's capital, 100,000 people had gathered for Halloween festivities. Name the city and the country. If you have it. All right, the correct answer was Seoul, South Korea.
Good job.
Coming back to U.S. history. A controversial part of the Compromise of 1850 made it legal for slavers to retrieve runaway slaves from the North. This act also established that runaway slaves are not free and that citizens are required by law to help slavers retrieve them. What is this act called? It's a controversial part of the Compromise of 1850 that made it legal for slavers to retrieve runaway slaves from the North. The act also established that runaway slaves are not free, that citizens are required by law to help slavers retrieve them. What was this act called? Team, do you have your answer? Time is up. spelling now. In his 1828 An American Dictionary of the English Language, Noah Webster gave us this particular spelling and definition of judgment. The act of judging, the act or process of the mind in comparing its ideas to find their agreement or disagreement, to ascertain truth. The process of examining facts and arguments to ascertain propriety and justice, or the process of examining the relations between one proposition and another. He took careful judgment of the odds before placing his wager. Please give us this prevailing American spelling of the word judgment. Seconds. Millville has signal. Vineland, do you have an answer? Are you ready? All right, then teams, please both display. Correct answer is Judgment. Now let's go local. New Jersey. Originally named Elephant Bazaar, this 6-story elephant-shaped building was built in 1881 by James Lafferty in hopes of selling parcels of land located on the beach in Margate, New Jersey. Over the years, this unique structure has served many purposes, most notably as a tourist attraction. Today, she is recognized as the oldest surviving roadside attraction in America and has been declared a National Historic Landmark. In 1902, the daughter-in-law of her owner gave her the name we know her by today. So please, give us her name. 6-story elephant-shaped building built in 1882 on the beach in Margate. Tourist attraction, the oldest surviving roadside attraction in the United States. The daughter-in-law of her owner gave her the name we know her by today. So please give us her name. All right, both teams ready? Please display your answers. The correct answer we know is Lucy. All right, Lucy. We clap for elephants. I like that. Geography. This is a, excuse me, let me repeat that. This is a conformal map projection introduced in 1569, of which the meridians are usually drawn parallel to each other, and the parallels of latitude are straight lines whose distance from each other increases with their distance from the equator. Although commonly seen, it has limitations because the scale is distorted. Areas farther away from the equator appear disproportionately large. On such a projection, for example, the landmass of Greenland appears to be greater than that of the continent of South America. But in actual area, Greenland is smaller than the Arabian Peninsula. So please name this type of map projection. It's a conformal map projection introduced in 1569. The meridians are drawn parallel to each other, and the parallels of latitude are straight lines whose distance from each other increases with their distance from the equator. Although commonly seen, it has limitations because the scale is distorted. Areas farther away from the equator are disproportionately large. For example, Greenland appears to be greater than the continent of South Africa. Please name this type of map projection. About 10 seconds. Okay, please show us your answers, teams. The correct answer is the Mercator projection. Mercator. Okay, we're going to go back to math, and we have a printed copy for you. digits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are used to form 5-digit numbers in which no digit is repeated. How many such 5-digit numbers greater than 40,000 are possible? I'll repeat. The 5 digits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are used to form 5-digit numbers in which no digit is repeated. How many 5-digit numbers greater than 40,000 are possible? About 15 seconds. Okay, that's time. If you have answers, please raise them. The correct answer is 48. Literature. This one is also printed due to its length and complexity. Literature is full of evil villains. Here are 3. Of the first, we hear him say, "Hope, it is the only thing stronger than fear." A little hope is effective. A lot of hope is dangerous. Spark is fine as long as it's contained. Of the second, we hear him say, "Thus she will be a living sermon against sin, until the ignominious letter be engraved upon her tombstone. It irks me nevertheless that the partner of her iniquity should not, at least, stand on the scaffold by her side. But he will be known, he will be known." Of the third, we read, "From the moment that Tom saw him approaching, he felt an immediate and revolting horror in him. That increased as he came near. He was evidently, though short, of gigantic strength. He seized Tom by the jaw, pulled open his mouth to inspect his teeth, made him strip up to his sleeve to show his muscle, turned him around, made him jump and spring to show his paces." Gotcha. Since they have a printed copy, I'm not going to read that.
So it's only the first, not the fourth.
Name any one. Name any one of those villains. Okay. Dean, do we have an answer? You have it. Please raise your placard. Correct answers, there were 3. It could have been President Coriolanus Snow, Roger Chillingsworth, or Simon LeGree. All right, let's move to grammar. These are used in many different ways in English. First, they're used with time words, on Monday. Second, they are used to show where something or someone is. Julie is in the garden. Third, they're used after some adjectives. She is good at tennis. Fourth, they're used after some verbs. She is waiting for her friend. Fifth, They are used after some nouns she has trouble with remembering new vocabulary. Finally, they are used in certain phrases. She arrived just in time for the film. What are these words? On Monday, in the garden, at tennis, for her friend, with remembering new vocabulary, in time for the film. What are these words? About 10 seconds. Okay, both teams have signaled. Please raise your placards. The correct is prepositions. Okay, moving on to math. Please calculate and simplify the expression, the cube root of 2 times the square root of 16. Find the cubed root of 2 times the square root of 16. Okay, both signal, raise them. Amazing. The correct answer is 2. There you go. All right. My time was correct. We have about 3 minutes remaining in the round. All right. Moving back to U.S. history. The first inauguration of George Washington as the first president of the United States was held on Tuesday, April 30th, 1789, on the balcony of Federal Hall in what city? The first inauguration of George Washington as the first president of the United States. Tuesday, April 30, 1789, Federal Hall of what city? About 10 seconds. All right, please show us your answers. The correct answer is, of course, New York City. All right, math. Please find x. 1/3 times 12x minus 9 minus 2 times x minus 5 greater than or equal to 17. Please find x. 1/3 times 12x minus 9 minus 2 times x minus 5 greater than or equal to 17. Solve for x. Now 15 seconds, teams. answers are, please hold them up if you have them. Correct answer is X is greater than or equal to 5. By my clock, I believe this would be the last question. Music. Born January 27, 1756 in Salzburg, this Austrian composer is widely recognized as one of the greatest composers in the history of Western music. With Haydn and Beethoven, he brought to its height the achievement of the Viennese classical school. Unlike any other composer in musical history, he wrote in all the music genres of his day and excelled in every one. His taste, his command of form, and his range of expression have made him seem the most universal of all composers. Yet, it may also be said that his music was written to accommodate the specific tastes of particular audiences. Please name him. Salzburg, Austria, 1756. One of the greatest composers with Haydn and Beethoven. He brought to its height the achievement of the Viennese classical school. Wrote in all musical genres, excelled in every one. Taste, command of form, his range of expression made him the most universal. Though he wrote to accommodate the tastes of particular audiences. Please name. All right, both teams are signaling, so let's put up your answers. The correct answer, of course, is Mozart. Johann Chrysostom Wolfgang Mozart.
And we do have a challenge.
There are challenge, they have a challenge.
What?
They have a challenge.
Do you have a challenge?
We have a challenge. Thank you.
Okay, well, the judges entertain the challenge. Score is 19-19. Time has expired. At a tie. Vineland has issued a challenge. The judges are confirming.
So the challenging question was for the,
Here you go, Mr. Kuzma.
Okay, so the challenge is for question 29, the current events with the stampede that killed 149 in Seoul. The answer is Seoul, but after doing some research, it says it is in the Itaewon neighborhood of Seoul, so that is correct. after further deliberation, the question's asking for the answer for the city, not the neighborhood. So that's what we're going to go.
So the score will revert back to 1919, and in the expiration of time, it ends in a tie. Both teams and schools are winners, so please give these young ladies and gentlemen a big round of applause. Thank you to everyone who put this event together today. To all of you, please have a wonderful and joyous Thanksgiving.